Good morning to you all and welcome. Thank you for joining us for the first online Music of Life conference. My name is Ray Longbottom and I'm the Chair of Trustees for the charity. We are delighted that so many people have registered for today's event. We have representatives of our special schools and our local authority partners. We have some of our grant makers who generously support our work and people who are currently considering our applications for funding. Also joining us are young people and their parents who have benefited from the charity's work, and we have musicians and teachers who are interested in joining us. Finally, we have the Music of Life team, including our patrons, Evelyn Glennie, Denise Leigh, and John Lubbock, our Chief Executive and Founder, Maria Teterina, who will be leading today's session, accompanied by our workshop leaders and teachers, our fundraiser, and trustees. In spite of the coronavirus, this is a very exciting time for Music of Life. We have a very strong team, and the quality and impact of our work is increasingly recognized by parents, educators, and grant makers. We had to respond rapidly to the sudden change caused by the lockdown, and I was very impressed by how, in the space of just a few weeks, our workshop leaders and teachers adapted new methods and created new material of high quality so that we could continue providing our services throughout the summer term to the children who rely on them. We were also successful in bidding for and winning extra funding, which was made available at short notice to help charities through this transition. I'd just like to say a big thank you to everyone who contributed to this great turnaround. We're now ready for the next stage of our development, expanding our team to work in more schools and with more individual students. We are hoping, of course, that schools will get back to something near normal in September, but we are equally prepared to work remotely if that is necessary. Well, that's enough from me. I'm very much looking forward to hearing what everyone has to say this morning, and will now hand you over to Maria.
Thank you very much, Ray. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited we're all here. Let me start by briefly explaining the purpose of the conference. We have been saying this for a long time. We're a small charity, but at some point we realized there are a lot of people associated with Music of Life in various ways. There are music specialists who've been working for us for many years, but they never had a chance to meet, share their experience and compare notes. So the first reason for making this happen today is to bring together as many stakeholders as possible to allow everyone to get a real sense of the current scope of the organization, what we have achieved so far, what is our USP, and where we can go from this point onwards. We have about 80 people registered for this conference, and I know you're all connected to Music of Life in some ways. I'm trying to imagine you all in a conference hall, and it makes me realize I must have very cold feet. The second reason for this conference is that we learn from the impact of our work, and it informs our strategy and planning. But at the same time, we are limited in our capacity to expand because of the very nature of our work, which we'll explain today. So this event is really to reach out to more people and organizations seeking support and partnership solutions that will enable us to grow sustainably and satisfy the overwhelming demand for the services we provide. You've all seen the timings probably, so just very briefly about what will happen today. I will do the charity overview now about what we do and what is our experience and so on. At about 10:20, hopefully, we will hear from our patron Denise Leigh. I know she is having some issues with joining us today. Hopefully this will be sorted by the time she was supposed to speak. We'll hear about our projects from the project leaders, Choirs Special Schools, led by Suzzie, Vango and the team at 10:25. At 10:40 we'll hear about our Music for Deaf program from Ruth, Montgomery and Eloise, Garland. We will hear about our individual music lessons at 10:55, and then hopefully at around 11:15 we will talk about our teacher training program. At 11:25 we will hear some testimonials from our partners at Camden Council and one of the schools where we work. There will be a question and answer session at 11:35, and we will start rounding up and thanking everyone at 11:50. So that's the plan. And that takes us to the charity overview, and I would like to ask Alexander, our host, to put on the short promo video to start this session.
You are my sunshine, sunshine, my only sunshine, sunshine. You make me happy, when skies are gray. Oh, oh, you'll never know, never know how much I love you. I love you more, I love you more every day.
One of the most wonderful things about the charity Music of Life is their dedication to getting the best people in to come and do the work, which means that we can build on some fantastic teams of musicians, and it means the children get the absolute best opportunity to make music with professionals and to a very, very high standard.
Red and yellow and pink and green, purple and orange and blue. You can sing a rainbow, sing a rainbow, sing a rainbow too. Listen with your eyes, listen with your eyes, and sing everything you see. You can sing a rainbow, sing a rainbow, sing along with me.
Thank you very much. So just a little bit of context. Music of Life started in 2003-2004, and it was inspired by a Russian charity that I was closely involved with. It was run by my parents during my student years in Moscow. They supported talented young musicians with disabilities and organized high-profile gala concerts with top classical musicians in major venues. And when I came to London to study at the Royal Academy of Music, I already had this idea of starting a similar charity here. We were incredibly lucky to work with the world's leading percussionist Evelyn Glennie in some of our very first concerts, and later with the wonderful Denise Leigh, both of whom were a source of inspiration and role models. And within the first year of starting Music of Life, I came across some amazing young musicians who were able, with very little preparation time, to join a symphony orchestra and professional choir and fully participate in the concerts that marked the first attempts of the charity to become established. However, it didn't take us very long to realize that the group of students we were so happily engaging in our work are those children who were lucky enough to enjoy access to music training before we came along. Their parents were able to support and encourage their music interests, and we found them as a result of that. But as we started talking to and visiting more special needs schools and local music services, we realized there was a much wider and hard-to-reach category of children with special needs and disabilities who didn't have any opportunity to access any music services at all. And we all know why. High music quality training is expensive, and it has to be regular, and it has to be going on for many years to allow the young person to really benefit from the experience. And it is not always about how many A, B, or C grades they have done. For many of our students, music is a vehicle to better life, enhanced communication with the world, higher self-esteem, more friendships, less anxiety, fewer emotional outbreaks, more social opportunity, and more successful learning. So what makes us unique is that for over 15 years now, we have been providing regular, to be more precise, weekly, music-making activities to children and young people with a wide range of special needs and disabilities. And our main focus has been to work with those children who would not be able to access such activities without our help. Individual music lessons for those children whose parents cannot afford it, school choirs and classroom music sessions at schools who don't have budget for specialist music provision. Music of Life works with highly professional musicians, teachers and workshop leaders. All of them had been successful in their careers before they joined us, but not all of them had prior experience in working with special needs students. And for some, this meant jumping in at the deep end, and later today we will hear from some of them about how terrifying it was and how they are determined to ensure this will never happen to any of their colleagues. This is why we are launching our teacher training program. So our key programs are choirs and special needs schools that Suzzie will tell us more about. They're running in West Midlands, and choir sizes range from 20 to 60 something students. We have music for deaf children in London, our currently fastest growing program, designed and delivered by professional deaf musicians. It includes classroom provision, work in small groups with activities tailored very specifically for the needs of each age group. And it also includes one-to-one tuition for Key Stage 2 students, currently woodwind and string instruments. So Ruth Montgomery, our program leader, and Eloise Garland will talk more about that. We have individual music lessons, which is a wide range of instruments and music styles, and our lessons are delivered in various settings. Schools where we run choirs, in partnership with local music services, in partnership with other organizations such as youth ensembles, and some lessons are by individual arrangements. Today we will hear from some of our teachers. And finally, it's community and integration. When we facilitate our students access to external musical opportunities, for example, joining a local choir, band or ensemble, participation in concerts organized by our partners, for example, a recent Camden School Festival at the Royal Albert Hall before lockdown, that involved a group of our deaf students, or when we are funding a teacher to attend ensemble rehearsals with our students to help them settle into the group and support the group in learning how to accommodate the young person's additional needs. Sheena from Camden Council will talk more about it today. Over the years, we accumulated a reasonable amount of experience. We are working with students with autistic spectrum disorders, deaf and hard of hearing, blind and visually impaired students, students with Down syndrome and cerebral palsy and many other conditions. Today we will hear about the unique experience of our key program leaders in their work. But if I were to choose one word to sum up the most important thing we learned in all these years, it would be continuity. We believe this work must not be limited to a term or year's worth of provision. We believe we must keep coming to a student or a school for as long as they need us, and it takes time to build relationships and establish learning process. There are schools where our projects are now into their 7th year, and it's not unusual for us to provide lessons to a student for 3, 5, 8 years. Our plans to expand are informed by our monitoring and evaluation process. We got to a point where our model of provision can be introduced in a lot of schools and settings. The demand is there, but the funding is often not. We recognize the need for more specialists, and this inspired us to launch the teacher training program. However, the key challenge remains to move away from the current model of work where we have to raise 100% of the funding for our project, and to do so through partnership solutions. I hope I can now hand over to Denise, who is our patron and who's been engaged with Music of Life as a performer, trustee, and most recently as a patron. And I would like Alexander to confirm that this is possible at this point.
My name is Denise Leigh, and I work with Music of Life as a patron. I've worked in various roles with Music of Life because I first came across them in 2006 when Maria contacted me and asked if I would come and sing as a guest soloist in a wonderful performance of the Messiah, which you were doing at St. John Smith Square. It was fabulous. I loved every minute of it, and then became more and more involved with Music of Life, becoming a trustee, and then later becoming a patron. The pride I feel at working with Music of Life and seeing the difference it makes to students' lives and to the lives of the teachers as well, and everybody who's touched by the charity, I just can't put into words, which isn't very useful for today really. But if I could just tell you about how much I wish there'd been a Music of Life when I was a young teenager. I was a brass musician and a singer, and both my parents were long-term unemployed. My mother's blind and wasn't working, and my dad was made unemployed, and there was just no money for music lessons, and there was no car, so there was no transport to music lessons, even if there'd been music lessons. And we lived in a very rural area where there was not good public transport, so there just wasn't a chance to exploit this musicality that I'd been blessed with. And it was very frustrating, you know, whilst I managed to practice as much as I could at home, it was directionless, it was without aim, it was without any guidance. And Music of Life, when it touches children, which I think you've just touched upon, Maria, there are always going to be children who are nurtured and brought on by their parents because they're from musical households, musical environments, but then there are the children whom without Music of Life, would not have the opportunity to be touched by music or to take part in music and to discover all the things that music brings, like the very close friendships that can last a lifetime, the learning to cooperate and to listen to each other, and all those special skills that come along with music. And most importantly, now I'm in a unique position because I'm the blind child of a blind mother and the blind mother of a blind child. So I would be in a unique position if Dimitri became my patron. If Dimitri was to use something like Music of Life, that would put us in a unique position of having worked with service users and then become a kind of service user. The children who otherwise wouldn't have a chance to work with professional musicians and in professional venues and scenarios, they get the chance to be lifted out of themselves for a while, and for their various disabilities and life challenges to become less important. Suddenly we're all put on an equal footing. We're all musicians, we're all working to the same end, and we're all creating the same entity. And therefore that just helps the child to forget about anything else that's going on in their life. And it's very important that that child is given the chance to be a musician with a disability rather than a disabled musician. I've always marketed myself as a singer who is visually impaired rather than a visually impaired singer. And it might sound like semantics, but actually it isn't. It's such a big hurdle to get over, and that's what Music of Life is doing. It's putting these children that it works with onto an equal footing with their peers, and that is why I'm so proud to be working with Music of Life in so many different capacities. I'm just sorry I'm not better at technology, Maria.
Thank you so much, Denise. It's been amazing to hear from you today. Thank you for trying so hard. I mean, it's amazing that you could join us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander. We are handing over to Suzzie Vango, Suzzie Purkis, and Emma Cockbill, who will tell us about our first project, which is Choirs at Special Needs Schools. And we will start by watching a video about this program.
I would like to ride on a roller coaster. I would like to you've seen a little bit of the kind of work we do. The first bit of the video was a workshop in a school, and then the last little section was actually the concert that we put on in last year, or in 2018, 2 years ago. Before we start, Maria has asked me to give you a bit of background information about myself. So I'm Suzzie Vango, and I started studying music at Birmingham University and then vocal studies at the Birmingham Conservatoire. And then I decided to move to London to become a consort singer, and sang in a lot of the groups down there, but always maintained an interest in vocal coaching and choral directing. I moved back to the Midlands, and now I do lots and lots of different things. I'm a conductor for National Children's Choir of Great Britain. I conduct the orchestra of the Swan Chamber Choir, Cathedral Academies. I'm head of singing at Bromsgrove School, and I'm a freelance workshop leader and voice coach. I'm a member of the ex-Cathedral education team, part of their singing medicine project at Birmingham Children's Hospital, and I'm really lucky to have travelled the world doing lots of the work I love to Asia, America, Europe, UAE, Africa. So I'm also a member of a professional quintet that I set up called Papagena, and this is alongside Suzzie, Purkis, who's also on the panel. And I compose and arrange a lot of children's songs and upper voice music that's been published. So quite a range of things. So although I've had plenty of experience teaching singers and leading choirs at all levels, from amateur to professional, when I was approached by Maria in 2014 to work at Round Oak Special School, I just went, no, I'm not qualified to do this. I don't have any experience. I can't. And Maria is very persuasive, and I decided to overcome these doubts and try something new. I wanted to inspire the students to sing, so I devised an introductory taster session with 6 other professional singers. This included myself, there was a King's College choral scholar, some opera singers, a gospel specialist, and actually there's a current member of the King's Singers in this group, and an accompanist. And this was a mix of an informal performance and an interactive workshop, and it was a complete hit. It was a really joyful session, and we all wanted more, especially the professional team. And interestingly, all of those people who were involved in the taster sessions have been part of further introductory sessions at other schools, and they still ask me when I see them, when can we come and work for Music of Life again, because it was so momentous for them. 4 of us then went on to provide 10 weekly sessions at Round Oak, and we were completely hooked. Eventually the funding was expanded to allow 2 more schools to become involved, and now we regularly visit 3 schools weekly in the West Midlands, Warwickshire area. We also have a school starting in Cambridge, and are looking to train new leaders and expand to other schools across the country. I'm going to hand over to Suzzie Purkis, who's on the team, to talk about the different schools that we work in. So Suzzie.
Thank you, Suzzie. I've been working with Suzzie since the beginning of the Midlands Schools project. After the initial introductory session, Suzzie invited me to assist her in running the newly formed Round Oak Music of Life Choir. And we do call it a choir at Round Oak because the format of it is very much that of a choir. We arrange the seating in rows, with members of staff sitting with or near any of those who might need extra help or support. We quickly identified certain students who were keen to get involved in helping us to lead short sections of the rehearsal, and for some students this was a huge confidence building activity. Since the project has expanded, Suzzie has handed over responsibility for the Round Oak Choir to me. I've been leading it on my own for the last couple of years, and I also assist Suzzie in running sessions at Selly Oak Trust School and Woodlands School. At Selly Oak Trust School, which is, like Round Oak, a school for secondary age children, we have been offering the sessions to a different group of young people each term. Depending on the varying needs of the participants, sometimes the focus of the term's work has been much more on playing singing games in a small circle, finding sounds we can make with our voices, and then building towards singing longer songs. At Woodlands School, which is a school for 4 to 19-year-olds, we have been running sessions which have included the younger children all the way up to sixth form age students. Part of the reason this has worked, I think, is because of the lovely culture that exists in the school. The staff lead the way with their engagement, and the older students join in happily when we are singing songs aimed at younger children, as they find it fun and are happy to support the younger ones. We also include songs which are more challenging and perhaps suited to older participants, so they get their chance to be challenged. One of the things all of the sessions have in common is that we bring high expectations, and we are not disappointed. While nurturing the groups and individuals in whatever way they may need, we also ask them to try harder, be better, and believe in themselves and their potential. The results range from one student who was completely non-verbal before the Music of Life sessions, gradually producing sounds, words and parts of sentences in our singing games, right through to a young man from the Round Oak Choir who really found his passion and natural talent for singing opera. He recently wrote to Maria saying he missed choir and that Music of Life changed his life. When we held a concert at Birmingham Town Hall, which involved students from all 3 schools, that particular singer performed a solo as part of the finale. As the date of the concert approached, we were informed that he was not going to be able to perform in the concert because his family hadn't the means to bring him along. The charity was able to pay for a taxi for his mum to make it happen, and this is one of the many ways Music of Life Foundation is able to provide support and opportunities to young people who might not otherwise be able to take part. The concert was a beautiful and life-changing event, and the young people and staff who were present talked about it for a long time afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzzie. As Maria mentioned earlier, one of the wonderful things and special things about the provision from Music of Life that sets it apart from other charities is that the funding is ongoing, and so therefore the work is ongoing, and then you can see a real change in the development in students over years and years. With these sessions, these students have something they can rely on, look forward to each week, and are able to build relationships through music making with the Music of Life team and their own peers. We're also building lasting relationships with the wonderful staff in every school, and this is incredibly important because without their help, as Suzzie said, we couldn't do this. In one of the schools, for example, following the amazing concert in the summer, we returned after the holidays and had a few weeks where a number of the regular students just didn't come. And a member of staff from the school who knew the project took us around, the team, around to their new classrooms where their teachers weren't even aware of the project, let alone that it had started again. And we walked in and the children screamed with delight when they saw us and begged to come back to our sessions. This intervention from the staff enormously helped us because the students' teachers realised the importance of the sessions to their pupils, and those students have been coming every week since. We are incredibly fortunate to have an accompanist on the team who's not just a skilled pianist but has such a great deal of awareness and empathy of children's needs, and she communicates with us, the workshop leaders, during and after each session to help them make them flow really smoothly. I'm going to hand over to Emma Cockbill now to talk about her experiences from an accompanist's point of view.
Hello, I'm Emma, and I've worked in music education for almost 25 years as firstly a class teacher and then an instrumental teacher, performer, choir and drama leader. I've been involved with Music of Life with the school workshops for just over 3 years now as a pianist, and it very quickly became the favourite part of my week, and it's also the place where I've learned the most. As Suzzie said, the engagement of the staff is so important, but I think it's important that people be involved too. I might be busy playing the piano, but the children need to see that I can still make eye contact with them, sing along with their parts and respond to the leader like they are. Having a live musician is one of the things that makes our sessions really special. We can use that inimitable power of music to affect the mood in the room, either increasing the energy or encouraging calm. We often help each other to adjust the running order of the session as we go, depending on the situation in the room and on the day. And this combined awareness as a team is really important. In songs where we're trying to teach concepts such as weather, emotion, characters, and so on, we can adjust the musical accompaniment to suit the mood, and that really adds to the learning and hopefully makes the whole experience a bit more fun. Equally important, we can use live music to help with attention and focus. While everyone's arriving and getting settled, I play. When the leader's introducing a song or reminding people of the words and structure, I can play gently. And this is a little reminder of the song that we're doing. And for some people, they might be struggling in that moment. And so by having that music going on in the background, it just really helps them. This approach keeps the sessions relevant to a wide range of different abilities all the time. I think it's also important that I'm there as another human being. We can act as a fall guy for each other. We can model that it's okay to make mistakes, that it's okay to get things wrong and to struggle to think of an idea. It's really important that we teach the children to be kind in their responses to each other and to be brave in their choices with their music making. I can also support Suzzie and Suzzie with praise and encouragement of individuals and the group as a whole. A really important thing that we do is encourage solo singing and personal choices. Some children may be non-verbal. They might choose from Makaton symbol books. Some sign, others can sing really confidently. Some may need a lot of time and some support to make a choice, but it's just as important. If we sang with backing tracks, it would be impossible to facilitate that. If we sang with no music, we'd have these prolonged periods of silence, and it would be so stressful for the person trying to choose and perhaps boring for others in the room. Because we always have someone playing live, I can carry on playing gently, keep the focus of the room on the song we're doing, but hopefully not put any pressure on the person whose turn it is. It also means we can quickly get the room back singing all together again once that solo moment's gone. Another small thing is when we're looking to people for these solo moments through the session, the leader's often faced with this really big number of people really keen and desperate to have a turn, and I don't have to deal with that. So it's much easier for me to maybe notice those little shy gestures that are there for a moment and then gone. And so that way I can help make sure that everyone gets their fair chance when they're ready.
Emma Cockbill.
Who's she?
She's Sarah Company.
The progress we see with children is phenomenal.
What, Suzzie?
In some ways, it seems that being part of a group, something inclusive, they're freer to grow and develop even than if they had more one-to-one attention. There's less risk and lots of reward. The atmosphere in the sessions is unique. It genuinely feels as if we're a whole team together, the students, the teachers and us. Everyone contributes to the overall energy and the emotional uplift when we finish. Everyone feels so inspired. There's not a single session that goes on without us taking away really special memories of something incredible. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. I think you can probably get the idea that anyone who comes to a music live session can really see the benefits that staff and students and workshop leaders gain from just an hour of music making a week. The sessions are joyous, interactive, engaging from the start, and everyone in the room is on board. We ensure, as workshop leaders, we engage with everyone in the room, as Emma said, and respectful that one week someone might be really up for it and engaged, and then the following week, for whatever reason, they don't want to participate. And we have to make continuous judgment calls on how much to encourage them and work out whether they are wanting to be pressed to join in or they just want to sit and listen. It's something that's a very challenging element of our job, but it also makes each session really rewarding, especially if you can transform a child's mood for the better, which does regularly happen. The music is specifically chosen and tailored to the students' needs, allowing them to participate as much as possible with songs that encourage decision making, solo singing, actions, Improvisation, language development, emotional awareness, empathy, peer support, harmony, and the actual singing. The list does go on. Sometimes, live in the session, as Emma said, we have to completely make up a new version of the song to encourage a specific child to participate. There's a lot of thinking on your feet, which is a skill that we've all developed. Round Oak is the longest running school in the programme, and in the first instance we set up our own performances, singing at the National Grid with their staff choir, Warwick High School at the end of year celebration, and then other schools joined the project and we looked at more ambitious events. So in 2018 we had the celebration concert at the Town Hall. This was in collaboration with a local male voice choir, Canoldir. The wonderful Denise Leigh, who we heard from earlier, came and sang with us, and Claire Duran, who is a recipient of Music Life support. Eloise and Ruth, who you'll hear from later, came and played, and we had support from musicians from the Birmingham Services for Education. We even had a piece especially commissioned for us by the wonderful Thomas Blumeyer, again a previous recipient of Music Life support. The event was supported incredibly generously by Birmingham Town Hall and Symphony Hall, who recognised the work we do as important, and they gave us the venue in kind. They even built a ramp for supporting our wheelchair users. It was a wonderful event and so successful that we had planned to repeat it again this year until the dreaded lockdown, but this has been postponed to March 2021 at Birmingham Town Hall. We'll have a local youth choir, professional quintet Papagena, services for education, and I've actually written a piece this time. We've already started learning the music. During lockdown we've been creating learning videos which are being sent to the students' home by their teachers. It's really difficult to encapsulate in such a short space of time, and I'm so sorry we've gone slightly over, the positive effect that Music of Life workshops can have on all participants. It's been 6 years of development to create, deliver and sustain a successful project like this, and I just hope that we can continue our provision to schools, grow the Music of Life family and add even more schools who can benefit from what we offer. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Suzzie and Emma, for your amazing contribution today. We'll hear more from Suzzie Purkis on individual lessons later on. But now I would like to hand over to Ruth Montgomery, our leader and creator of the program for deaf children, Music for Deaf Children. And we will start this slot by viewing a video capturing some of Ruth's methods. Thank you very much.
Pull the little ducks turn upside down, upside down, upside down. Pull the little ducks turn upside down when they double at the bottom of the pond.
You are my sunshine,
You are my sunshine,
my only sunshine,
my only sunshine.
You make me happy,
You make me happy.
when skies are grey.
Oh, oh, oh.
You'll never know,
You'll
dear,
never know
how much I
love you.
you. Please don't take
my
sunshine away.
Good morning everyone, I'm Ruth Montgomery. I'm really proud to be here today. Listening to Maria talk earlier made me realise that I was involved with Music of Life from the very beginning, and it has benefited me enormously. Back 10-20 years ago, Music of Life Foundation was the only charity really to recognise young people with disabilities who have talent for music, and they support that and they nurture that, open door to opportunity. But the most important thing about Music of Life is they gave me faith in believing in myself that I could do it as a musician. So from knowing them when I'm 15 years old, playing my flute, and I went to Russia to perform with the orchestra. And when I did that, I thought, wow, what would happen if I just carried on with music? I just went up to grade 8 and going on to music college. And then now I'm a very proud Music of Life teacher working in the community and giving it back to young people and working with other music teachers. So their work is really, really important. It really does make a difference because I'm one of those people. I work on a weekly basis in schools for deaf children because you know, the benefit of music education is enormous. We support the curriculum that the teachers that have music support language development, emotional development, social development, and also counting, you know, in maths and all that. So most of all, we have fun through learning, and we have good times as well. So yes, and also the interesting thing is every child in the classroom has different hearing levels, and you develop ways of teaching deaf children and getting them to work together. To be honest, they are no different from hearing students because they're born to move and to act and to play and to think. So we are all in this together. And the best thing about being a music teacher in schools on a weekly basis is to develop relationships with partners with other schools and places as well. So Eloise will talk about that because that's what she also does with the community group and that. So Eloise, would you like to talk about the widening opportunities and with other partners?
Yes, and Eloise, please let us know when you want us to play your video.
Hello, my name is Eloise, and my sign name is this. I'm a deaf BSL music teacher. All music has a pulse. From jazz, to classical, and rock. Do you want to hear the violin? I can do a happy sound.
Listen with your eyes, listen with your eyes, and sing everything you see. You can sing a rainbow, sing a rainbow, sing along with me.
Brilliant. So hello everybody. Well, I hope that video plus Ruth's talk gave you a good taste of some of the things that I do at Music of Life and that we do at Music of Life for the Music for Deaf Children project. So I'm Eloise Garland. I'm a professional musician living and working in London. I've been working with Music of Life since 2017. I was trained as a classical singer, violinist and pianist, and I attended Cheetham School of Music in Manchester and later completed a music degree down here in London. And I've stayed here ever since. London's just one of those places. I'm also deaf. I wear 2 hearing aids, and I experienced several challenges of my own, particularly throughout my later, more intensive music education. That made me question what it was that was difficult, why was it difficult, and want to start tackling that. And so my own experiences have shaped a lot of my work thus far, and I feel very lucky indeed to be working with Music of Life and being part of this journey. So Ruth talked a lot about the benefits of a consistent musical education and those opportunities for deaf children, and raising expectations of what deaf children can achieve in music. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the development of this project as a whole, and why the project's unique, and also to touch on past collaborative opportunities and future developments. So the Music for Deaf Children project has been running for 3 academic years now. It started at Frankbound School for Deaf Children, which is located in King's Cross. It was initially a pilot project, which, as Maria mentioned earlier, has quickly grown. It's been very successful. Ruth and myself are the 2 practitioners on this project, and we work to create and deliver bespoke sessions and resources to now over 100 deaf children across 4 schools in London every week. The project is unique for a couple of reasons as well. The first is that Ruth and I are both deaf ourselves. We're both professional musicians with a specialist music school and conservatoire background. But being deaf and being both British Sign Language and spoken English users, we understand the children on just that little bit of an extra level. We understand what it's like to be deaf, and we can use our own experiences to not only shape and inform our practice, but also to inspire the next generation of deaf children to excel in music. On a personal level on that topic, one of my favourite things about this project is just watching the reaction of the children as they realise that their music teacher is just like them. So they'll see our hearing aids and they'll point at their own and say, well, we're the same. So that's something really special there. It's a message straight away that they can do something too in music. Second reason that this project's unique is the scope for collaboration that we offer with other organisations and practitioners. So we're lucky to be working with schools such as Frank Barnes, who are so open to partaking in new opportunities and helping to facilitate those opportunities as well. So over the last 3 years, there have been several collaborations with other organisations, one of the biggest being with Camden Music Services and the Orchestra of the Age of Enlightenment. That was in 2018 and 20, and Sheena from Camden Music Services will be talking a little bit more about that in detail later on. And we've also collaborated with other organisations such as Tiny Owl Publishing and City University of London, and that project was to bring Iranian instruments and professional Iranian musicians to deaf children from Frank Barnes School and their neighbouring school, King's Cross Academy, which is a mainstream school. That was something really special. And of course, we've also had individual professional and emerging musicians come in to watch our work or deliver part of the workshop as well, which has been inspiring for the children. They get to see a wider range of people from a wider range of backgrounds. Those collaborations have offered some brilliant opportunities for the children to continue to develop their understanding of the wider musical world, but also the world and culture as a whole. And importantly, the collaboration is something that we can weave into our practice over a longer period of time. So it's not just a one-off project with no lead-up or follow-up. You know, like Ruth mentioned in her talk a little bit, it's got a story, it's got a background, and it's something that can fit into the wider structure of the project. This project's also really shown that there's real demand for further development and further expansion in this area. To have gone from a small pilot in one school to working across 4 schools, nurturing multiple collaborative opportunities and receiving inquiries from many more schools and practitioners who wish to develop their skills in this area. That just shows the need for this to continue growing, to continue developing and rolling out in a wider context. Later in the conference, there will be some talking about new plans for a programme, but I won't spoil that for you right now. So I hope that's given you a good sense of why and how all of this came about, and I welcome any questions. There's a chat box, a Q&A box, and there will also be a Q&A session
later on. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ruth and Eloise. We are into our next slot now, which is our next project, individual lessons. And Ruth and Eloise will stay to talk about their individual one-to-one work with some of the children they teach. Alexander, can I ask you to start the video for individual lessons? Thank you.
Hi, Eloise. Hi, Eloise. Are you here? I really liked your video, and we've been doing a Harry Potter rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Super.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I come in. Now stop. 2, 3, 4. Now you change. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Done. Stop. Now back to the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to do the drum roll. Drum roll. 1, 2, 3, 4. Clap. Yay!
So I would like to welcome to this slot Suzzie Purkis, who will talk about working with singing students, so vocal training. Ruth Montgomery, who will talk about teaching woodwind instruments. Eloise, Garland, who will talk about teaching string instruments. And Amy Swallow, who represents Services for Education, our long-term partner. And she will tell us about her experience as a project manager, really, on our behalf, managing a large group of students in Birmingham who have Music of Life lessons through Birmingham Services for Education. Over to you, Suzzie. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello again, everybody. As I mentioned earlier, I've been running the choir at Round Oak School for several years. And during most of that time, Cerys Purser has been giving individual singing lessons to several members of the choir. At the end of term concerts, Cerys's students would give performances of solos or duets they had been working on in their lessons. And unfortunately, Cerys was sadly unable to continue to commit to her teaching at Round Oak. So from September, I took on several hours of one-to-one singing lessons in addition to taking the choir. So each week, since September, I've been teaching 9 students who are also members of the choir. Their ages range from 11 to 17, and they come on their own for lessons in the school music room where I accompany them on an electric piano. The students are selected to have one-to-one lessons based on various factors. Some because they show a particular aptitude for singing and performing. Others because they demonstrate exceptional enthusiasm for music. And others still because they love choir and benefit from having a little extra individual attention to help with learning melodies and words. Often it's a little bit of all of the above. My own training and vocal education is rooted in classical singing. The work I do with the students at Round Oak is grounded in this, and we focus on posture, breathing, improving tone quality, and finding vocal freedom. Some of the students have also begun to read music, while others focus more on remembering the songs we sing in choir. The progress some of the students make is tremendous. Students who I am told have an extremely short attention span and quite problematic behaviour during ordinary school lesson time will focus throughout the choir session and their singing lessons and memorise lengthy, fairly complicated solo songs. One of the challenges I have found about doing this work is making sure that I really tune in to what these students are capable of and don't allow whatever their particular need is to put a cap on what they might achieve. It takes an attitude of open-mindedness and exploration to keep adapting your approach and working out what suits the students in order to keep challenging them to be the best they can be. In actual fact, this teaching has really informed the teaching I do in mainstream schools and elsewhere because, of course, that is what all students need, for someone to really see them and be present with what they bring to the lesson each week. When the students have just had a singing lesson, they arrive at choir rehearsals with a real sense of ownership and responsibility, ready to support and encourage the rest of the choir with their confidence and enthusiasm. The individual lessons really feed into nurturing and raising the standard of the choir, and of course the singing students gain additional musical skills by singing in a choir as well as singing solo. It's a wonderful setup which benefits so many, and of course it's one of the highlights of my week. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you very much. And Ruth, would you like to take over?
Yes, I had the privilege of doing one-to-one music teaching in Depth School. I am mostly a recorder teacher, teaching recorder. The best thing about recorded is you can put it in your book bag, take it home, put it in your tray. You can buy them for £5 and it makes a pretty melody. Has a woodwind player. I would say that anyway. For a lot of deaf children I teach, most of them have profound hearing loss, like myself, and when they are first introduced into recording, they are surprised about blowing, you know. If they blow like a candle, you're thinking more about how the mouth works, that they've never thought about before, and also you're thinking about the tongue, how it works. So you've got all that two. You can't see it, so I have to explain by drawing a picture of the tongue and it goes behind the teeth and things like that. And also with your fingers, you're covering the hole. It really helps them to be very aware of how they are holding an instrument and covering the hole to make a nice clear sound. And the other thing is reading notes. That with note reading, you develop a melody. And it's quite nice once you achieve this and you listen to pitch rise and fall. There's a lot of benefit from one-to-one lesson. There's melody, structure, timing, breathing, and most of all, a sense of achievement each week when you make those progress. And we saw a video of me teaching a young girl on the recorder. She had her makeup on, it was because she was in a play doing Mary Poppins. And then she was playing to the talent, but she was the piano on her recorder to the community, to her family, and then from one-to-one lesson, you go and play it in a school concert. It does work. We make sure it's not just in the teaching room. We build up their self-esteem. So that's really a benefit of one-to-one lesson.
Eloise, would you like to take over, please?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I just want to add on to a lot of what Ruth has just said. We work in a similar capacity, except I'm teaching strings. And quite a lot of people would say string instruments are particularly difficult for deaf children to learn, which just isn't true. Even Ruth, her own son Harry, who's deaf, plays the violin. I hope you don't mind me saying that, Ruth. But you know, the idea that string instruments are more difficult for deaf people to learn is not true. And I've seen that over the last few years with my students who have been not only just learning but excelling at playing the violin or the cello. And I have some students who, you know, similar to what Ruth said, we're working in this small, intimate one-to-one session, and building up skills starts off very basic, just how to hold the violin. And I find that a lot of deaf children are more receptive to just copying something. So holding the violin in itself is quite a complex thing, but with a deaf child, when you show it to them straight away, they kind of know what to do, because we're so used to using our hands and our bodies in that way. And building up from there, how to pluck the strings, how to hold the bow, and then how to control the bow in a way that you can play each string individually, and using a lot of visual and vibration for that as well. It's very clear when a string is vibrating. You can see it very visually, and I've even used some really fun techniques in the past, such as putting little stickers around the string. The stickers vibrate and they make their way up the string, how it vibrates. And if you put a different coloured sticker on each string and try and get the child to control the bow so that it's just on that one string, and the red sticker will come towards them, but all of the other stickers will stay where they are. It's quite a fun activity to do, and it really develops those skills. And then from there on, just learning how to place the fingers. And yeah, as I say, so I can see children excelling in this. I've got some students who are doing absolutely wonderful, amazing work on the violin in particular, and they've gone on to have opportunities to play with other children and to play in ensembles, larger ensembles as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you very much. So the way of work described by Suzzie, Ruth and Eloise are examples of individual lessons that happen in schools where we actually run our projects as well, where we also run our choirs and our classroom provision. Amy now will describe a different kind of arrangement where we have a large group of students scattered around different schools where other music of life activities are not taking place, and this is just virtually one-to-one arrangements for students to receive lessons. Amy, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. It's lovely to be here at the first ever Music of Life conference, and yeah, I just want to thank you and Suzzie Vango as well for inviting me to speak. So I only personally started collaborating with Music of Life earlier this year, whilst our current head of inclusion, Sophie Gray, has been on maternity leave. But from my first encounters with the charity, I could see clearly the compassion that they have for making a difference to children's lives through music. And Sophie has shared many stories with me about how Music of Life has been a great help to our school provision, and I'll be sharing some of that with you today. So we have a really great partnership with Music of Life, and through the charity we're able to provide 30-minute one-to-one lessons to 20 students in 10 Birmingham Special schools that all show innate talent in music that just otherwise wouldn't get the opportunity to have lessons. And what's great about this partnership is that as a music service, we can provide lessons in any instrument or voice in which a student shows talent that's identified by one of our school partners. And thanks to Music of Life, we can provide these lessons free of charge, which is taking away that problem of money that, as Maria said earlier, is our biggest barrier really in accessing music education. So for us as a music service, this has helped us to fill a gap in provision, as a lot of our work is with whole classes in special schools, and it's really helped us to strengthen our relationships with the special schools in Birmingham, and we've had fantastic feedback from schools that have received Music of Life tuition. The partnership has also enabled us to provide more authentic performance opportunities to more of our children. So, for example, the Music of Life concert that Suzzie Vango was talking about earlier, and fantastic event that took place 2 years ago at the Town Hall in Birmingham, where our students from SFE were able to sing along and play along as a band with the Music of Life choir and experience performing in an amazing venue like the Town Hall alongside professional singers. And yeah, we were really looking forward to performing at the Town Hall again this year, which I worked out was actually this time last week on Thursday it was supposed to be. But we're really excited about the rescheduled concert in March. We've already started making plans, and the students have already started working on the songs. From our end as an organisation and Services for Education, we've been able to provide performance opportunities to our Music of Life students as well, which has really helped provide even more opportunities for those students. So we have an event called the Summer Sounds, which is at the MAC, which is a cluster concert and workshop day for students in Birmingham Special Schools, and also the Music Service Youth Proms at Symphony Hall, where a lot of our Music of Life vocal students have been able to sing in the mass choirs. And all of these music opportunities have meant so much to both the students and also the parents as well. So just before I finished, I wanted to share a little bit about some of our students that have lessons through Music of Life funding. We have one very young student who has a voice like Amy Winehouse. We've got one vocalist that sings beautiful Bollywood songs with our visiting tabla teacher, and what's really nice about that setup is we're able to be really flexible. So we've got our music service tabla teacher going into the school, the music teacher at the school plays guitar, and they have a bit of a sort of a jam every week where this particular student sings her Bollywood songs. I personally haven't seen it yet, but it's apparently fantastic. Also, one of our guitar students, who is called Harry Benson, and he's an extremely talented singer-songwriter, and he's taught by one of our guitar teachers, Nigel Mellor, who has been teaching Harry for 3.5 years. So I just thought I'd finish my talk by reading a short description of Harry that Nigel has shared with me recently. So Nigel says, Harry is quite an exceptional student. He has already developed his own music identity and voice, and has pretty much made up his mind that he would like to be a professional singer-songwriter. He has 2 albums worth of high quality material selected from about 150 songs that he has written. We have managed to do 5 performances together this year at local venues, and his live performance skills are going from strength to strength. It has been nothing short of my absolute privilege to have witnessed his determination and development into an expressive, interesting and very gifted young artist. And I think that says it all really about the impact that these lessons have had on our students and also our teachers as well. I know that Nigel and our other teachers at Services for Education are so inspired by the Music of Life work that they do. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy, for your contribution today, and thank you everyone on this slot. It's been wonderful to learn more about your everyday life as instrumental and vocal teachers. Our next slot is one of the main purposes of this conference is to make everyone aware of our new teacher training program. And we will have Suzzie Vango talking about our choirs at schools, and Ruth talking about deaf schools program. Whilst Alexander is putting the speakers on, I'll just talk briefly about how it all came to life. So throughout our existence, we have been incredibly lucky to work with some of the leading music practitioners. And for many years, our teachers and workshop leaders were introduced to us by existing members of our teacher network, which meant they knew exactly what skills and personal qualities we were after, because they had first-hand experience in leading music of life activities. And now we are at the point where we need more specialists developing our projects. And we feel it's time to put in a more formal context and offer training that would enable new members of our network to take on new projects and lead them with confidence. So Suzzie and Ruth will tell us more about their chosen approach to this training. Thank you very much. Suzzie, would you like to start?
Thank you, yes. So through conversations with Maria and the team, over time we've worked out that in both elements of the Music of Life schools work, so the vocal workshops and the music for deaf children, the people who lead on these require a specific set of skills that seem to combine a number of qualities from professional work and possibly personal aspects of our lives. As schools across the UK have very enthusiastically got in touch to see if we can provide for their students, rather frustratingly, we have realised that our very small team can't satisfy this demand. Now, we know a number of people out there who would be perfect as Music of Life leaders, but like myself initially, they naturally shy away from this kind of work because they feel they lack experience. There are also many people who would fit the bill who we don't know about yet. So Ruth, Eloise and I have been devising 2 training programmes for each of the projects to address this and hopefully build on future generations of excellent practitioners working with people with disabilities. The training programmes will take place over the course of the year, starting in September, and depending on where we're at with COVID-19 will dictate whether we start with an online training or live in schools. Obviously the hope is that we can go straight live into schools. The trainees will be supported and mentored throughout the process with opportunities to take more of a lead as the programme progresses. The aim is that by the end of the programme we have a wonderful team of Music of Life workshop leaders ready to support or take on their own schools, and eventually we'd be looking to expand this to accompanists as well, like Emma. Ruth is going to talk about the Schools for Deaf training programme, but the application process in a moment, but just wanted to highlight the slightly different types of people that we're looking for in each project. For the vocal workshops, we're looking for people who are accomplished and confident singers, who have perhaps studied singing at degree level or worked as a singer in some professional capacity. The children are so inspired when someone who can sing opens their mouth and sort of lets rip, and they sort of sit there, wow, so that's very important. We are also looking for people who are enthusiastic about working with young people and making a difference. Perhaps they have some teaching experience already in a classroom or choral or one-to-one, but they're comfortable being out in front of a group. As the vocal workshop project is predominantly based in the Midlands, we'd be looking for people who are able to get to the school workshops in Birmingham or Warwick. Both places have really good transport links, and the workshops are not too early or too late in the day. So we hope that people from other places in the country will still consider applying for this and travelling up or down. There will, I think, be some remuneration for travel expenses. This is a great opportunity for someone who's recently out of further education and looking to get into amateur work, or maybe they've studied singing at college and want to teach others, or maybe they've already been involved in some amateur work and are looking to expand this skill set. Enthusiasm for singing at a high level, a desire to help others are absolutely essential for those who want to apply. There are another number of other desirables that will be outlined either in the application process or by Ruth, who I'm going to hand over to now.
Yes, it's a really exciting time to think about the expansion of Music of Life and the teacher training programme. There have been, you're right, there have been quite a number of people who are really interested in getting into music teaching to deaf children, and I can tell you that it is an exciting career to have. However, it is an interesting ballgame when it comes to teaching deaf students, and the main thing is about communication and awareness and ways of delivering music topics to them while maintaining the high standards that we expect. So about the teacher training programme, it will be both online and at school. It will be taught both by myself and Eloise. We will cover many of the one-to-one teaching approaches as well as the classroom. Because of coronavirus, we don't know what's going to happen in September, but we will start with online, and then hopefully by later on in the term, second term, we're getting to school. Yeah. At the moment, our work is in London, and we cover 4 schools. So the kind of people we are looking for is to be able to travel to see us at work and going around different places on rotation, because it's a different place, there are different environments that we work in. And the last term, these us connecting with new schools, hopefully, and start branching out. We would like applications from someone who is freelance and already a practicing musician with skills and working in the community, and someone who can play a musical instrument to a high level. And if you have sign language skills, that would be fantastic, but if you don't, not to worry, you will learn with us. And if there are any deaf musicians out there, we would absolutely love to hear from them as well. And Music of Life will announce their application process in due course.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Thank you very much, Suzzie. We do hope that we will keep developing this theme over the next few months, and with any of you in attendance, any questions, please ask them in the chat window. We may not have time today to answer all the questions live, but we will get back to everyone via email, so you will get the answer to your question. Our next slot is dedicated to hearing from some of our partners. We have Sheena Masson, who is the music coordinator at Camden Music Services, and we have Lizzie Godwin, who is the assistant head teacher at Woodlands School, which is one of our schools where we run the choirs. I would like to thank you both for joining us today. I know that Sheena had to fight for her access and had a long session yesterday to make sure she can be with us today. Thank you very much for making that extra effort. I really appreciate it. And Sheena, would you like to start? Thank you.
Yes, I will. Is it, you can hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this conference. I've really enjoyed the presentation so far. I'm Sheena Masson. I work for the Camden Music Service. The service works with all the borough's primary and secondary and special schools, promoting and providing musical opportunities for young people both in and beyond school. Being a small organisation, partnership and collaboration is key to the way we work, and we're delighted that we have Music of Life as one of our partners. The involvement of Music of Life at Frank Barnes School for Deaf Children, I think, has been truly transformative. The school has always been welcoming and supportive of music making, and it gets involved with borough festivals and events. It was as a result of a project with another of our partners, the Orchestra of the Age of Enlightenment, back in autumn 2016, that cello lessons were set up for a number of the children at Frank Barnes. But the school was keen to extend instrumental provision much further, and it was a partnership with Music of Life that made this possible. Music of Life introduced us to Ruth and to Eloise, and I think it's fair to say that the involvement of Ruth and Eloise as deaf musicians and music educators has moved the music provision at Frank Barnes School to an entirely different level. They are both superb musicians themselves, and the fact that they themselves are deaf has been tremendously important, really very important for their work in the Frank Barnes community. Through Music of Life, Eloise and Ruth have supported the Frank Barnes children in learning a range of different instruments. They've been inspiring them and helping them develop as musicians. The school was recently involved in a large-scale project along with 2 mainstream schools and another Camden special school, working with players from the Orchestra of the Age of Enlightenment and fellows from the Royal Academy of Music. A New Created World, that was the name of the project. It was a 2-term project culminating in a performance at the Albert Hall as part of the Camden Schools Festival just before lockdown. The underpinning theme of this project was that everyone, children and adults, regardless of their starting point, would be given the chance to be the very best that they can be, sharing what they know and learning from those around them. Now the performance is done and dusted, I feel comfortable about saying that it went really well. But the interactions between those involved, both children and adults, often informal interactions, moved forward the whole general understanding that everyone is on their own musical journey. The involvement of the Frank Barnes children and the staff of the school and Ruth and Eloise as deaf musicians was pivotal in this, and the impact of their involvement was reached much further than the people directly involved in the project. Ruth and Eloise have raised deaf awareness in the whole of the Camden Music Network. They have run deaf awareness courses for children and for adults with particular reference to music making, increasing awareness and understanding of the experience of deaf musicians. Over the project, working alongside musicians and children in a non-hearing environment really challenged our hearing colleagues. It challenged them to reflect on their own practice and to reevaluate what are the really important aspects of ensemble music making. The New Created World project was a celebration of music making for all, helping people develop an understanding that everyone is on a different but equally valid musical journey, I believe is the really important legacy of that project, and I know that it underpins a lot of the work of Music of Life. Some of the photographs taken during rehearsals I think were up on the screen before this conference started, and they're available I think on the Music of Life website. There's a link to the video of the whole performance if you'd like to see it. It's on the front page of our website. I'll put the website address in the chat. It was a really joyous event. It really was a joyous event. But these projects, they're only possible through collaboration and partnership working. So the Camden Music Service would like to thank Music of Life for their amazing work, for their support in music making at Frank Barnes, and for their continuing partnership with the Camden Music Service. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheena. I'm handing over to Lizzie Godwin. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for this opportunity. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be able to talk about Music of Life to you all. My name's Lizzie Godwin. I'm an assistant head at Woodlands School, and I love music. Woodlands is a broad spectrum special school for pupils aged 4 to 19, and it's been involved in Music of Life for nearly 4 years. I happily and accidentally became involved in Music of Life 2 years ago when I drove the school minibus to Birmingham Town Hall and ended up on the stage. It was quite a surprise. I remember saying to Suzzie that I don't know the songs, and I was quite terrified, and her reply was that it would be okay. Just joined in, I did, and it was okay. It was really spectacular by the amazing performance of pupils that I'm familiar with in school as learners, but not as talented performers. It was a truly life-changing moment, not just for me, but for those young people that had the opportunity to perform on such a wonderful stage. We value music immensely at Woodlands. It's important for everyone's enjoyment and, most importantly, their well-being, and it should be accessible to all. Music of Life brings the opportunity to our school to have a fully inclusive choir. Anyone who wants to be involved can be and is. The youngest pupils in our choir are 5, the oldest are 19. The range of abilities and needs are as vast, and they're all included. We have pupils who sing everything, some who join in with the songs that they choose, others who like to move to the music, and those who make choices using alternative communication such as symbols or Makaton signing. Pupils join in at their own level, what they're comfortable with. And if they need to leave the room, they can. If they can only cope with 10 minutes of the session, that's okay. Music of Life is totally inclusive. It is one of the only times in school that we have pupils from across the school choosing to work together and enjoy each other's company. The Music of Life sessions have developed an identity for those who are involved in it. I have so many words that describe the incredibly positive experience that Music of Life brings to Woodlands. The joy, the celebration, the pride, but it just doesn't do it justice. It's such a wonderful feeling. The relationships that are developed between the pupils, the staff, the workshop leaders, and importantly, the audience. The sense of community, being part of this choir is a truly special thing for everyone involved, the pupils and the adults. The participation, to be involved and join in. Collaboration, working together in school and with the other schools. We did another performance last summer in our local secondary school and had the opportunity to sing with the other 2 choirs. And the parents and staff and the other school, which is a mainstream secondary school, were amazed at the talents of our young people involved. Opportunity. The pupils get to perform. The parents get to see them. And that isn't something that is always available to our children with additional needs. We believe it to be very important and strive for it to happen, but we do know that it isn't always the case. Music of Life brings that to our children. Choice. We passionately believe that our young people should be given lots of choice in their lives, and through many of the different songs and activities, they get to choose and take the songs further. So in their own way, they're doing some composition. It's really quite special to see. The Music of Life experience evolves each week, depending on how the pupils are responding, what their needs are, and it really is down to the professionalism and talent of the workshop leaders to make this happen. They're exploring and developing skills, reaching potential they probably didn't even realise they had, and high expectations from both the workshop leaders, the staff supporting, and the pupils of themselves and each other just make it into a truly wonderful experience. I've had the pleasure of showing visitors around our school during workshop sessions, and they are all beautifully surprised when they see the levels of engagement, when they hear the amazing singing, and they're always reluctant to leave. I have to sort of help them out of the door. But that's something I'm so proud to be able to share that with people who come into our school. Woodlands is so grateful for the opportunity Music of Life has brought to us, and we are so keen for this collaboration to continue. Our pupils love it. and it supports communication, encourages positive interactions, high expectations, choir-like behaviour, achievements, confidence. The staff love it. We had a member of staff who left last year, and she asked me if she could be invited back for any future performances because it had such a profound effect on her. So of course, yes, we will be inviting her back to be involved. And it's such a special time in school to work with professional musicians who are amazing. Suzzie and Emma are greeted like superstars every week when they come in. The children think very highly of them. They've become part of our school community and are very important to our school. At the beginning, Maria said that the charity is small. I just want to say it might be small, but I can confidently and passionately say that the impact is huge. So if you're considering supporting Music of Life or joining your school to such a wonderful experience, please do. It makes such a difference to so many. And I feel incredibly grateful that I get the opportunity to be part of it. It certainly has made a massive impression on me, and I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity to share something that I think so highly of.
Thank you so much, Lizzie, and thank you, Sheena, and thank you, Alison. We are due for a change of interpreter right now, and I will continue with answering some of the questions we had today. So we are approaching the end of our fantastic session today. Tracy, can you hear me all right? Yeah? Good. So I will just, we're running a bit late, so I'm going to answer just a couple of questions we had through our chat today, and anything that was left unanswered we will answer in emails after the session. So we had a question about whether any of Music of Life students gone on to a music college or the music profession. Yes, we do have examples where our students have actually become professional musicians and gone on to a professional career, which makes us immensely proud. And these are names you've probably seen in the papers or in various BBC programs. We have been lucky enough to work with the wonderful Lloyd Coleman, composer, clarinetist and conductor, and we worked with Thomas Blumeyer, a wonderful composer and singer. We have Claire Doran, a soprano, who regularly performs in our concerts and recently recorded her first professional album. So, but it's important to bear in mind that we don't make it our immediate aim. Our aim is to enhance the quality of life of our students by providing music-making activities that are suited to their needs to enable them to achieve their full life potential. And this is something, as I said in the beginning, that is a fundamental value of Music of Life. We believe that music is a tool and a vehicle that should be accessible to anyone who needs it. And it just so happens that a lot of students with disabilities and special needs do need music as an essential tool in their development, whatever their needs are. Another very good question is, I believe, from a parent who asks if Music of Life works with children with physical disabilities, for example, and upper limb differences, educated in mainstream schools. The answer to it is that we do work with several students who've been introduced to us by their parents or teachers So that would be just isolated requirements that we receive from time to time. And we work on a case-to-case basis, assessing their needs and making sure as a charity we have capacity to cater for their needs. Because as I explained, we are about ongoing provision. So if we take on a student or a school, we need to plan ahead for several years to include them in the budget. And this is an ongoing commitment. So we need to be very careful about any commitments we make to ensure that we have sustainable and renewable funding every year to expand as well as maintain all of our existing projects at the same level. And that's one of the challenges we have. This is why primarily just to save us some time and capacity, we work in special needs schools where our students can be found in a setting that allows us to come and work with a large group. So I hope that answers your question. If you want to go into further details, we will keep communicating after this session. So I'm pleased to say we've caught up with time now, and we are going into our final slot, which is really to thank you all for joining today. It's been absolutely fantastic to have you all here, and thank you for listening and watching and asking questions. Obviously, there have been some technical imperfections, as I believe it always happens during such big conference events. But what I wanted to say is that I think if there is one thing I'm grateful to COVID for, is that this is happening today. This is something we really wanted to happen a long time ago, and we would probably never make it happen in a normal conference setting. So I think moving everything online brought along this idea of gathering everyone in this format, which was a very useful thought indeed. We would be very grateful for any feedback and follow-ups. Our email is mofl@mofl.co.uk. It is the one you received your joining instructions from, and it's also on our website at the bottom of the homepage. We are keen to discuss ideas that you may have as a result of what you learned today about Music of Life and our work. And if you can think of any of your contacts who you feel should have been here today, this conference is recorded and will be soon available with captions to share with anyone who missed it. I would like to thank everyone who worked so hard to make this happen today. All our presenters, our team, our board of trustees, our volunteer, Sylvia Arup, who worked tirelessly to put together videos and promote the conference on social media. Special thank you to Eloise, who spent the entire day yesterday adding subtitles to the videos. And of course, our brilliant host, Alexander Lanin, and Cisco Systems for their generous gift of the WebEx event facility. It's been an absolute privilege for me to lead this session today. I will say goodbye now and ask Alexander to put on the final video, a lovely slideshow that was put together by a very dear friend of mine as a token to remind us of some wonderful events that took place in 2017-19. That includes photos from some of the events that were mentioned today, our choir rehearsals, Birmingham concert in 2018, work by Ruth at Frank Barnes School, and some of the students graduating from their first year there. I hope you can watch it before you switch off. Thank you everyone for joining, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Alexander, you can put the final video on. Thank you.